Let's see, where to even begin? First of all, how's it going, everyone? Interesting day, to say the very least. Also, to preface, I'm baked again. I'm sorry. I have a flight kind of soon, so, no sober flights. Fuck I look like. Anyways, yeah, we have a lot to go over today. Hopefully what I'm gonna say is gonna make sense. It probably won't, but, hey, at least I'm trying, right? So, let's see, where do we even begin? Let's just start from the micro scale count and talk about today's price action. So first of all, from the low we have a 1, 2. I'm counting this move as the 3 up to here, and the reasoning, in the last video I had the 1 here and 2 here. Again, this doesn't really matter. I just like to have the micro scale really thought out so that when I'm like tying it all together to a larger degree, the count makes sense to me and it's valid. So I'm making sure I'm not breaking any rules. So with that being said, I already have it drawn. Stupid. Alright, so you'd have 1, 2, then your 3 borderline 0.618 tick, 4 down to here. This is a 0.236 retrace, and then finally your 5 up to here. That was, remember yesterday, the 250 close that I was saying it was a critical pivot? It was like 249.05 or something like that. Yeah, so we closed like right there yesterday, which is why I thought, we either explode or we're gonna dump. And obviously, hey, one of them happened. Hopefully this sound around me isn't too loud. I'm like on my balcony because people are playing music inside. But anyways, in my last video I also went over this target. This one's important. The 0.618 target at 252.52. This is 0.618 of the whole of the larger degree waves 1 and 2. This was our move up to 258 on November 3rd with our low at 196. So I mentioned this in the last forecast. In your wave 1 of 3, right? So this was the 1 in the pink, then your 2, I'm going to go over those targets in a second too. But what I was saying was, in bullish markets, your wave 1 of 3, a lot of the time, you'll reject the larger degree 0.618 level. And if you ever do see a rejection there, you should expect a pretty harsh sell-off to ensue. And we didn't quite take it, but we came within like 32 cents of it. But yeah, that doesn't really matter too much. Now let's dig into a much smaller scale and see if we can dissect today's price action. So for one, what makes the most sense to me is an expanding flat with the very overextended C wave. So the way we look at this is we'd first measure the length of the A wave, right? So this is the top of the A, this is the bottom down here. So we're measuring that whole length. And first we had the 1, 2, 3, 6 rejection. And so right away my mind thought, okay, this is going to be some sort of running flat, meaning we would expect the A and the C wave to be the same length. So that would put the supposed first C bounce at, I already have it drawn out, at 243.19. But as soon as we broke below that, that was a signal that we were likely going to come down to at least the 0.382 level here, which I outlined yesterday. This is where we had this little gap up as well. So I was thinking with the fibs, it would make sense to, come down to the 0.382 for a larger degree 4, fill this gap, and then we have our final leg up before seeing a sharper sell-off. Now, obviously, I had to dig in a little bit deeper to see that, well, obviously, for one, today was a really sharp sell-off, so this is definitely a wave 2 and not a 4. If it were the 4, we would have bounced at 230 and then likely continued up to, 260-ish, I believe is the target I have, somewhere up there. But anyways, because that didn't happen, now I have to go down the line and see what happened today and how we could have kind of gone down the line and saw. So, first of all, this 230 area, that's where I thought we were going to bounce. And, we kept selling off. And as soon as we lost this 0.382 level at 229, 230, that was a signal to expect the next larger degree fib at the 50% fib, which is also congruent with the C equals 3.326 of A. I'm sorry, right? I'm not even going to explain the ratios, to be honest, but all you need to know is the next major level came down to the 4.236 at 214.03. If it breaks below that tomorrow, which I'll show a bull case and a bear case. Honestly, I don't know. So first of all, here's why I think we could see a bounce, and then I'll say why I think we might see a little bit more downside before a bounce. So let's just take a super basic view. For one, obviously RSI is very oversold, MACD is starting to curl, whatever. I don't really like analyzing like that. I think that's not very helpful because, it's the stock is susceptible to any of this bullshit that we saw today. So I like to do waves just because that's more or less how the algos are running the underlying, if that makes sense. But anyways, you can actually, also look at this, right? This yellow line, this is the 200 EMA. Let me pull up a clear view actually without all my fibs. right? This is 200 EMA, and usually we'll get some sort of retest of this moving average on sharp retests, and we will stay above it and then continue upwards. And obviously, if we break below, it's usually short-lived. Like this was, we broke below it for a day, recovered, and then it was just smooth sailing upwards. I could show, then like sure, you can look at the Ichimoku, or you can like pull up the Ichimoku and be like, oh, we have support at 206, 207, which is also the larger degree 0.786 fib, if you draw that out, right? It's like this purple line right here. See how that works? Okay, but anyways, back to targets. So, for one, if we do keep selling off into tomorrow, I would look for a bounce at 207. I don't think we can really fall much harder than that unless this whole move is something like a running flat correction, wherein we come down to like 192, but that's not really in play yet. I don't really see that working, just the way that everything's been counted so far. Also, it's like too big, it's too elongated, if that really makes sense. See, I also want to draw your attention to this part of the May cycle, which is very similar, if not the exact same, to like what we've seen so far. And this is why I think, this supports the bull case in my opinion. Right, we had 2 to 3 days of really strong opens, really strong strength throughout the day. One day we ran a little bit higher than we closed the day before, up to 268, 269, and then we dropped down to like 220. And the next day we hit 254, and the day after that we hit 294. So just by candle structures alone, right, you have consecutive days up, strong move down, and then we look for some sort of continuation into tomorrow, which is, exactly what's happening around here. But anyways, that's just like basic analysis. Now let's touch on upside targets. So for one, let's just assume that the low is in at let's say 213, because the targets are going to be more or less the same either way. It's just easier to base it off that. So if that does mark the low, the first major upside level I'll be watching for is 247.29, right? Basically the same idea with what happened here. I think it could go the same, honestly, where you have your 1 2 1 2 1 2, and then you really start to explode. Or like, what am I saying? I could just blow through all of this. Like, that's the thing. When it really starts to move, none of this really matters. To me it does. I do trade the volatility. It's pretty fun, not gonna lie. But right, anyways, the larger degree target that we'd be looking for then, the low is in today. The 1618 for the wave 3 would be 303.48. But could stop at like 270 as well. That would be like the lowest I see it going, but historically the 1618 has been the most common, so 303 at the least is what I'd expect. And I'm not going to dive deeper into like the structure from there. It hasn't really changed, like nothing's really changed. Instead of this being a wave 4 down to 230, it was just a larger 2 down to 214. But hey, remember this, your wave 2 is always your sharpest and steepest correction, and it's when the most people get shaken out before a more violent move to the upside. This is like a psychological fact. This is how this all works. And hey, that's all I'm saying. Not that people are selling. I guarantee the buy ratio today was probably like 80% buys, 20% sells. Like price is fake. Everyone knows this. But anyways, downside in tomorrow, 207.5 area. It would make sense to tick that and then start to move up, because remember, the 24th of the 3 months apart, February 24th, May 24th, August 24th, November 24th, maybe not. Whatever happens, I hold. We're ready for it. Zen the fuck out, baby. I'm gonna stop talking. Hopefully this made some sense. The dip before the rip. All you need to know. Alright, boys. Peace.